Why is Guramit Singh a member of the EDL? Our special correspondent, Steve Dyson, has been talking to him in the final part of today's Hard Talk.
Guramit, again referring to your speeches, some of what you said in some of those speeches, I must admit, was too offensive to repeat on air.
Yeah.
You literally mixed four-letter F words in your denunciation of the Islamic faith.
Yeah.
You openly insulted Muhammad.
Yeah.
Were those comments a sensible, reasonable thing to do in a multicultural Britain?
Tell me, what have I said that's wrong? People need to understand. Islam is harsh. The only way to get through to people's brains, I think, is by giving them the harsh reality. This is what you're faced with. This is what you dealt with. I'm not saying every Muslim in the world is a terrorist, but it's funny how every terrorist is a Muslim. Why is that? Because their ideology tells them to kill. People need to understand this. When people start understanding fundamental Islam...
There have been Christian terrorists around the world.
They have been Christian
terrorists in Britain,
There have been Christian terrorists. You know what? There may have been Sikh terrorists. There may have been Hindu terrorists. But I tell you now, not one of them faiths actually tells them to go out and terrorise people until they die, apart from Islam. That tells it to do it. That's why the majority is there. You're talking 95% of the world terrorists at the moment are Muslim.
You know, when you've got hundreds of thousands of people who look at scriptural texts and they take the peaceful versions of it, and that's their view, that's what they
I think it's brilliant.
And those are Muslims too who do that from their scripts.
Great. There is such thing as moderate Muslims, but you can't get moderate Islam.
But then they hear someone like you say things like Hitler was a teddy bear compared to Muhammad, and that's someone they love. Is that not offensive to them?
Well, this is the problem, okay? They're taking out their peaceful text, which is great, and living their life by that and ignoring the rest, but they can't ignore the rest. Because while the rest of that scripture is while the rest of that hatred and violence and murder is still in the scripture, people are still going to kill in Muhammad and Islam's name and Allah's name. Until that's addressed, people are still going to die. This is the issue. This is far greater than me standing on a stage and saying a few words that some people may find offensive. You know, after that Peterborough speech, when I got arrested, I found out one person complained. One person complained. What's the population of this country? 70-something million. I know that hundreds of thousands of people have watched my videos. One person complained.
Quite a lot of people who watch the videos commented that they felt you were very racist. Were you racist?
How was I racist? I wasn't calling out against race. I was calling out against an ideology.
But at the time,
calling out against fundamental Islam, against Muhammad. I will insult Muhammad until the last because he deserves it. It's time people started exercising their rights. It's because he is to be criticised. He has to be.
At the time in your speech, you actually said, if you were to call me a racist because of this, of what I've said, then I'll have it tattooed on my head.
You know, this whole myth of racism, my God, we're not a racist organisation. For me to sit there and, you know what, if I'm a racist, that's still yet to be proven. There's been people who've put out fake videos who have mismatched words that I've said and called me a racist. That's still yet to be proven. But to stand there and say that I can't criticise an ideology or a figurehead like Muhammad or his so-called Allah, all right? If I can't criticise that, well, that's just an ideology of racism there for me to not to be allowed to question anything.
Guramit, at the time you were arrested for the comments in Peterborough on suspicion of intentionally causing religiously aggravated harassment, alarm or distress. Now, the police in March this year decided not to prosecute. But were you not warned about your language?
To tell you the truth, right, afterwards, I personally think when it came to swearing, I shouldn't have done it. I don't believe I should swear. Everything else I did on that stage, everything else I said, it was 100% honest. I've exposed the truth. People have learnt from it. People are going to ask questions and start bringing these problems up. Now, like I said to you earlier, I'm always going to expose certain problems within the Islamic community, in this country especially, along my speeches, even if they do drift onto a completely different line. Okay? I do apologise for swearing. I shouldn't have done that. I don't believe that's the right way to go forward. Sometimes it comes out. I'm just linguistically, that's kind of like how I talk, you know what I mean? It's just linguistically how I talk. I've always talked like that. I know it's a bit harsh. I know it's a bit like that, but it's just how I talk, and sometimes it comes out on stage. I apologise, and you know what? I'm going to address that in the future because upon reflection, I don't believe I should swear. I don't believe it's a way forward. So.
In Dudley, you included quite unrelated references to forced marriages, female genital mutilation. How is that relevant to a planning protest about a building?
One thing that I always try to include in my speeches is to expose Islam. This is the problem. Nobody's educated enough about Islam and these problems that are going on within the ideology right now in this country and around the world. So whenever I get the opportunity to put something out there which is going to get people's attention and think, hold on 1 minute, what's going on here? And then they'll do some research themselves. This is the way forward, I believe. So that's why I put some references in my speech. It could completely go off the track or the road that I'm actually talking about in the speech, but I will put something in to get people's ears listening, because these are the sort of atrocities that are happening on a daily basis even in this country. Our problem isn't with Muslims. It isn't with Muslims. Muslims need to stand up and fight against the issue that we bring up, which is fundamental Islam.
Guramit, talking about Sikhs in the West Midlands, there's tens of thousands here. They worship at more than 60 temples across Birmingham and the Black Country. More than 90,000 Sikhs celebrated the annual Vaisakhi festival in Handsworth Park just last month.
Yeah.
It's an important community here in the Midlands, and I've spoken to many of them and many of their leaders, and they have been offended, not only by your swearing, but by your comments, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nobody's come to me and told me about it. Every single Sikh that I've spoken to has shown me their support. I've never, apart from Sikhs Against English Defence League, which I think there's about 2 or 3 members, and Turban Campaign, which I think 1 member, I've never heard anything else. Now, I understand these people who signed their joint statement, but recently I wrote a letter and sent it out to them. I mean, at first I wasn't going to say anything. I thought to myself, well, if anybody's idle enough to just believe anybody who gives them whatever information, well, they don't really deserve my time. But I have spoke out to them. But at the end of the day, I'm not representing the Sikh culture, the religion. I haven't got no right to. The only entity, the only guru, we have a guru that represents the Sikh faith, and that's Guru Granth Sahib. Okay, I don't represent Sikhs. I don't represent Hindus, Christians, Catholics, Muslims. I don't represent anybody apart from people that are sincere to our cause. Members of the English Defence League let me represent them, and that's all I'm here to do.
The call to excommunicate you, wherever that's gone, but that call was backed by 6 leading Gurdwaras in Birmingham and the Black Country, including Guru Nanak Kanishkam Sevak Jaffa, run by Bahir Sahib Mahinder Singh, one of the most senior and respected Sikh figures outside of India. Does his signature, does the feeling of those 6 Gurdwaras about what you said, does that not make you challenge yourself about what you said?
No, it doesn't, because at the end of the day, their signatures are on that statement through lies that they've been given. They've been told that we're anti-Semitic, we're racist, we're Nazis, we're this, that. We've been separating the Asian community. They've been given lie after lie after lie after lie. That whole application is a farce. It doesn't bother me in any single way. At the end of the day, to be excommunicated from the Sikh religion, you have to be a baptised Sikh for a start, which I'm not. Which is it's definitely a way I'm heading for in the future. I can see in the next 5 years me straying that way, because if one thing the English Defence League made me do, it's made me research my own religion a lot more. And because I can't just go out there and study Islam and not even study my own religion. I study my own religion first, and it's definitely bringing me towards that way, but right now I'm not. But it's a farcical application. I don't think about it. I don't want to spend any time even talking about it, to tell you the truth, because I don't believe it deserves it. I mean, I found out about this just by, I think it was the end of March I found about it, actually probably middle of March, that sort of time. When I found out about it, it was a day I got a phone call, because obviously being a spokesperson, a lot of press contacts have my phone number. I have their phone numbers as well. We talk on a regular basis. And first I got a phone call from BBC Asia. She rang me up and said, what do you think of this excommunication application against you? I was like, what are you talking about? And she explained to me, and I was like, well, I don't know anything about it. And I was actually out working at the time, so I wasn't near a computer, and I was trying to get Google up on my phone. And here I'm getting a bit worried. And then all of a sudden I get Asian Today, the newspaper, internet newspaper, ring me up and said, what do you think of this? And I was like, where have you got this from? And they said, well, we've just received a fax, phone calls, emails from Turban Campaign. So basically it's basically a PR stunt. They've gone to the press first before they've gone to me. Now, if they want to issue me with an application, well, come to me and issue it with me.
Despite what we've said about the English Defence League, it seems to have gone quiet here in the West Midlands. Despite the support you've got from people in Birmingham and the Black Country, do you think that the support for the EDL is waning in the West Midlands?
Oh, no, not at all. If anything, it's getting bigger. There's a lot of issues all over the country that we've had to deal with. Obviously, there are still issues in the West Midlands that need to be addressed. And one thing I can tell you is the English Defence League will 100% be definitely coming back to the West Midlands. I'm just not too sure what kind of date yet. There's still a lot of places around the country we need to go. I mean, Nottingham, when we go to demonstrations, we take like a coach or two with us. And I've been to areas in West Midlands that are minute compared to the size of Nottingham, and they're taking 3 or 4 coaches. I think they see the problem of Islamification in the West Midlands quite a lot on a daily basis, same as I do when I go to visit my friends or family or members of the English Defence League in West Midlands. So yeah, there's a definite strong feeling against fundamental Islam there.
Do you have any idea of the numbers of people?
No, it's impossible to gauge. It's impossible to gauge, but you can kind of get an average when you're on demo day and you have a chat with lads and see who's brought what coaches. But recently, I think it was Rowley Regis, the area.
Rowley Regis?
Yeah, that's a tiny little area. I think the last demonstration they took 3 coaches. I mean, Nottingham's never even took 3 coaches, but yeah, the West Midlands are flourishing. It's incredible.
Guramit, I want to end with a message from you, and I want this message to be to the general population of the West Midlands. That's people of all faiths, people of all colours, people of all politics, from Christians to Sikhs to Muslims. Do you have anything unifying to say that you think will help the region to continue its integration and its understanding of each other?
I believe if we all just stay honest to one another and we just keep loving, we can achieve so much. It's unbelievable. It's happened for thousands of years, and we can keep carrying on as long as we stay honest and well and love thy neighbour like it says in the Bible. I think we can really get forward. That's the way forward, I think. Love and honesty.
Guramit Singh, the spokesman for the English Defence League based here in the Midlands, thank you for joining BBC WM today.
Thanks for having me.